Okay, this is LSAT PrepTest 22, Section 3, questions 20 through 24. The fourth logic game of this section. Okay, so what do we have? We have that 6 of 7 jugglers. Okay, so the jugglers are G, H, K, L, N, P, and Q. Are each assigned to one of 3 positions, front, middle, and rear, on one of 2 teams, Team 1 and Team 2. Okay, so here's what we have. We have Team 1, we have front, middle, and rear. Team 2, front, middle, and rear. And then, well, wait a second, there's 7 people, there's only 6 slots, which means that there must be 1 slot left for somebody who just doesn't fit on one of these teams, right? So immediately we know that. Okay, so for each team, exactly 1 juggler must be assigned to each position according to the following conditions, right? So that just reinforces it. We have 7 elements, 6 quote-unquote in slots, and then one guy that's just going to be left out cold. Okay, so looks like lots of rules here. So the first rule, if either G or H or both are assigned to teams, they're assigned to front positions. So let's call this front, middle, and rear. Front, middle, and rear, right? So if we have a G, that implies he's in front. If we have an H, that also implies that they're in front. Okay, next. If assigned to a team, K is assigned to middle. Okay, so K, if K is selected, he's put in the middle slot. Okay? Next, if assigned to a team, L is assigned to team 1. Okay, so if you have an L at all, then he must be on team 1. Okay? Fourth rule. Neither P nor K is on the same team as N, so if you have an N, you don't have a P, and you also don't have a K. Okay. Fifth, P is not on the same team as Q, so if you have a P, you also don't have a Q. Or if you have a Q, you also don't have a P. Alright? Okay. And then sixth, if H is on team 2, then Q is assigned to the middle position of team 1. Okay, so this one is going to require several of these, right? So if H is on 2, let's notate that H2. That implies that Q is in the middle position of team 1, right? So H2 implies QM1, right? And so obviously we can also take contrapositives as all this, right? Like it becomes very relevant down here. For example, but I mean, I guess up here as well, right? If there are no more middle slots left, then K has to be the one that's out. If there are no more front slots left, then whichever one of G or H hasn't already been placed has to be out, so on and so forth, right? Okay, and that actually brings up a point, I guess. Like there's a lot of I guess I would call it numerical pressure on this game, in that you can only leave one guy completely out in the cold, right? Which means that 6 of these guys have to be used. So when you have this many rules governing who can and can't go with each other, the fact that you can only leave one guy out is going to be a huge determining factor to how your game rolls. Okay, so I mean, like, taking these contrapositives, if you have a Q, you don't have a P. If you have a P, you don't have an N. If you have a K, you don't have an N. If you don't have any more slots on team 1, then you don't have L. No more middle slots means no K. No more front slots means that no G or no H, depending, right? And here's where I'm talking about in particular, right? Only one of these can ever be true, right? Because there's no way that you can leave both these guys out, right? So that's what I mean when I talk about quote-unquote numerical pressure on this game. Okay, and so I mean, other than that, it's just a gigantic list of rules. I mean, there's not really a ton we can do here in terms of combining inferences. I guess you could combine Q arrow not P up here, but I'm not entirely sure how that helps. Okay, so let's just go ahead and leave it like this and start looking at these answer choices, or start looking at these questions rather, and see what we have. So let's box this off, and then we don't get to touch it again, and then we're just going to go straight to the questions. Alright, so question 20. This is just your basic acceptability question, except that they're asking for acceptable list of assignments of jugglers to team 2, right? Okay, so team 2 is going to be one of these following. So answer choice A is QKN, the next one is HPK, and then HLN, and then GQP, and then GQN. Right, okay, so we should just be able to eliminate these on the basis of these rules. Okay, so our first rule, if you have G or H, they got to be in front. Well, we have an H here, but it's in front. H here, G here, G here. So this rule's fine. It's good to go. Okay, next rule, K means they have to be in the middle. Oh, K is not in the middle here, so get rid of that. So one answer choice down. All right, next, L has to be in team 1. Well, remember this is team 2, and we've got L right here, so get rid of answer choice C as well. Right, keeping on moving. N and P can't be together. I don't see N and P together anywhere, but I do see N and K together, right here, and that's another thing that we can't have. All right, so now we're just down to these last two. Okay, what's next? P and Q can't be together. P and Q are together right there. And so it turns out answer choice E, purely process of elimination, turns out to be the answer. All right, moving right along. If H is assigned to Team 2, which of the following is an acceptable assignment of jugglers to Team 1? Okay, so actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to write like this. Team 1 is going to be 3 slots. Team 2, another 3 slots. And then let's call it out 1 slot. Right? So I'm going to take it away from this a little bit so I can make it a little easier just to like stack and see for myself. Okay, so H is assigned to Team 2. So what do we know? That means that H must be in front, right? So that's fine. What else do we know? H is on Team 2, which means that Q must be in the middle of Team 1, right? So we've gotten, let's recreate our elements, G, H, K, L, N, P, and Q, right? We've taken care of Q, taken care of H, and so now we've got to fit the rest of these into these slots. And immediately here what I'm seeing is that, there's a couple of rules that stick out to me. Number one is L. Either L is over here or L is out. Right, so L's only got 3 places to go, and also N is very picky about who he deals with, right? And N is still one of the slots we need to fill. So if we put N here, we can't have P or K, which means that he's limited to either G or L, right? So probably one of those things is going to help us get to our answer choice here. Okay, so what are they looking for? They're looking for an acceptable assignment of jugglers to Team 1. Okay, so let's actually recreate these answer choices. Okay, so GKL, GKN, LKP, LQG, and LQN. Okay, so the first thing, once again, is just to, we can just run through this list of rules and see if anything is awry, right? So first rule, G and H have to be in front. G is in front. There aren't any H's, so that's fine. K's, anytime they appear, they're in the middle. That's fine. L has to be in group 1 if it's picked at all, right? We see 4 L's, and so immediately this one, answer choice B tells me that L is out, right? Which means that we're gonna have information about what else has to be true. But this one actually we can just eliminate based on this rule. N means no P, N means no K, right? So N and K means that this one's out. Okay, P means no Q. Right, that's not violated anywhere. If H is in Team 2, that means Q is in the middle of Group 1, and that's the one that eliminates a bunch of them. Right? Answer choice A and C don't have Q in the middle. Right? So it turns out we actually didn't need to know this thing about answer choice B. Right? And so here's the question. Now we're down to 2 answer choices. So how do you differentiate between LQG and LQN? Well, actually, I feel kind of stupid saying that because up here, right, G has to be in front. So I totally missed that the first time down the line, but no matter. The bottom line is answer choice E is the correct answer here. Again, just this is basically, with one inference, this just turns into another acceptability question. Okay, let's move on to 22. 22 asks us, well, this is going to get a little more abstract here. Answer 22 just asks us, which of the following is an acceptable list of assignments of jugglers to Team 1? Okay, so whatever they're giving us is Team 1. So let's reproduce GKL. Followed by GKP, and then LKQ, and then QKP, and then QLN. Okay, so once again we have Team 1, we have Team 2, and then we have the single out slot over here, right? Okay, so when I see this arrangement of Team 1s, this is a lot of information. They've given us 3 out of the 7 things are already placed. So just running through these real quick, just so pick off the low-hanging fruits, right? Whenever we see G, it's in the front slot, and this time that's actually true. H, there are no H's here. K is whenever they appear, they're in the middle. Okay. L is the first slot. L actually appears in 4 of these answer choices, or not 4 of them, 3 of them rather. Right. So answer choice B, for example, and answer choice D, what we know is that L, if it's picked, it has to be in Team 1. So if it's not in Team 1, right, this is our contrapositive. No more space left in Team 1. That means L has to be this out category, right? So we can fill that in right now. Okay, moving down, N, not with P and Q, so there's actually no N's anywhere here. How about P? P and Q can't ever be together. Okay, that immediately takes out answer choice D, right? P implies no Q, and that's all. And then H in group 2 means that Q has to be in the middle of group 1. So if Q is not in the middle of group 1, right, that means H is not in team 2. Well, if H is not in team 2, that means H has to be out. H, right? And then at that point, it's like, uh-oh, right? Here in answer choice B, we have 2 guys that are out. Here in answer choice D, 2 guys that are out. I mean, I guess we already eliminated answer choice D for other reasons, but immediately, right, are just the contrapositive of this rule, QM1 / implies H2 / means that the H has to be the thing that's out in the rest of these cases. So we're left with A, C, and E, right? So we actually know exactly the elements that are missing here, right? So all I have to do is compare our notes, right? So G, H, K, L. So we're missing N, P, Q here, right? We're missing G here, H, K, L, and then we're missing N and P as well. And then down here, we're missing G, H, we're missing K, L, N, and then we're missing P, right? Okay, and so I mean, like this doesn't necessarily have to be the order. I'm just writing down what they are, right? But I mean, it does turn out that G has to be first, for instance. But then you see immediately that some of these start violating rules, like P and N can't ever be together, right? So immediately answer choice C is out. P and N can't ever be together. Answer choice A is out. So that means the answer choice E, by default has to be the answer. And then this is a good arrangement of these elements, right? Okay, so that's question 22. So I mean, this game, this question in particular puts a lot of stock in this idea of what I call negative information, right? They tell you something, and then by use of these rules, you can figure out the rest of what they're actually telling you. Okay, so 23 says what? It says that if G is assigned to Team 1, which of the following is a pair of jugglers who could also be assigned to Team 1? Okay, so Team 1 is, well, we know, let's actually draw this out here. We know that if G is in, then it's got to be here, right? So this is Team 1, this is Team 2, and this is the out category, right? We know that whenever G is selected, it's got to be first. Okay, so they're asking us what? They're asking us which of the following basically can go with G, right? In that first team. Okay, so let's go ahead and write out our answer choices, then we can discuss them. Okay, so first and foremost, right, like this rule number 1, where G and H both have to be in front, right, that precludes any possibility that G and H are on the same team, right? Because if you put G and H on the same team, there's no way they can both occupy the first slot, right? So just purely based on that, answer choice A is incorrect, right? And okay, so looking at the rest of these, like this isn't a ton of information, right? Like this doesn't help us. This thing about K being in the middle, like okay, sure, like if it's in, it has to be in the middle, right? But then we don't really know where to go from that. L, if it's in, it has to be on team 1. But then in this case, for example, all it means is that L is out. It doesn't tell us anything about whether or not, at least not immediately, whether this is a valid placement. Although, thinking about it some more, actually, we can go through this, right? Like G, so we need an H here. We have a K. We need an L here. And then we have an N. And then we have P. And then we have a Q, right? So actually, we do know exactly what answer choice C looks like. So I mean, as long as we're here, we might as well just evaluate that, right? Does this violate any rules? Well, G and H are both in front, sure. K is in the middle. Yes, you can put K, GK, or yeah, GKP, I'm sorry, right? L being on team 1, he's not on team 1, so therefore he must be out. N is not together with P, that's right. N is not together with K, that's also right. P is not together with Q, okay, but then look at this, right? H is on team 2, which means that Q should be in the middle of team 1. Instead, where is he? He's on team 2, right? So immediately that crosses answer choice C out, and then that's actually what I was getting at originally, was that this last rule really seems to put a huge damper on what can and can't happen here, right? Like for example, whenever we put, basically we have two options. Either we're going to put H in, or we're going to put H out, right? Because if we put H in, we know that Q's got to be here, right? So looking at our slate of answer choices, now that we've eliminated C, B, D, and E, only this one even has the remote possibility of containing Q in the middle slot of the first team, which means that B and D, what we can go ahead and do is we can just assume that H is not on team 2, right? And since H is also not going to be on team 1, it's got to be out. And then now we can look at these, right? G, H, K, L, N, P, Q, that definitely violates the rule. It violates the NP and the PQ rule, right? Get rid of it. How about here? G, H, K, L, N, P, Q. This one's not as bad. It only violates one rule. We can put the K in the middle, so it doesn't necessarily violate that rule, right? Whereas answer choice E, now here, right? This is the only possibility we have of putting Q in the middle of slot 1. So there's actually two ways that we can think about this. So let's actually reproduce this so we can explore both of them, right? So we know that G is here. So here's what the only two possibilities are. Either H is on team 2 or H is out, right? If H is on team 2, then Q is here, then L is here, and then what do we have left? We have G, H. We need to put K, N, and P in here. All right. Well, what is the only rule? N can't be with K and P, so N has got to be out, which means that K and P can happily fill these slots, right? And so this is definitely a valid placement of our elements, right? So we don't have to go any further. It is in fact the case that Q and L could be assigned to team 1 alongside G, right? And this is the tricky thing that they did here, right? They purposely put Q second. I think probably they were following their alphabetical order, sort of ordering here. That's redundant, I know, but that's kind of what it is. They just follow alphabetical order. But also what it does is it pulls you off of the scent of being able to see this Q in the middle of team 1 as opposed to at the end of it, right? But in any case, that's question 23, and so answer choice E is in fact the correct answer. Okay, so we've cleared off our previous work. Let's just go straight into question 24, home stretch. Okay, so if G is assigned to team 1, K is assigned to team 2, which of the following must be assigned to the rear position of team 2? This is a must be true question. So this piece of information they give us should be enough to figure out everything that there has to, at the very least has to be enough to figure out this slot right here, the one I'm boxing in right now, right? So the way I see this, there are actually only two ways this can happen, right? And the reason that I'm saying that is because looking at this this rule right here, right? G has to be in front. Well, G is in front, but then H, if it's selected, has to be in front as well, right? So two options happen here. Either H is going to be in front of team 2, or H is going to be out, right? There's no other places that H could be. So this rule, once again, limits what we can do, right? Okay, and so here, in this scenario, since H is on team 2, Q must be in the middle of team 1. Okay, so what are we left with here? We're left with G, H, K, L, N, P, and then Q, right? So these are the three that we're left with here, whereas over here, G, H, K, we're left with L, N, P, and Q. Okay, what else do we know, right? We know that K, this letter K, means that we can't ever have N on the second row, right? And so, I mean, in this case, that actually makes life very easy for us, right? N can't ever be here, so N either has to be on team 1 or out. And L, if he's in, he either has to be on team 1 or out, right? So you see that L and N, no matter what, they have to switch between these two slots, leaving P to fill this last slot. And that's the answer that we're looking for, right? And so, okay, let's go ahead and try to prove that to ourselves, right? Okay, so first things first over here. L, since it's, since if it's in, it has to be in team 1, well, it has to be in because H is taking out the out slot. So L has to be up here. We've taken care of that, right? We know that N can't go here, which means N also has to go up here. Let's get rid of that. Uh-oh, look what we have left. We have P and Q to fill these two slots, but that means they're going to be on the same team, right? And rule number 5 tells us that can actually never be the case. So this scenario, where H is out, can actually never happen, right? Which means that we're stuck with this. And so here, it's very clear that L and N trade off here, meaning that P is the only guy left to take this slot. So P is going to be the answer, and that's answer choice D. And so that's the game.